or on the online version. Okay. So, Steve Erickson. Sheila may have identity problems, but I don't know. But I don't. I know exactly who I am. And no matter what anybody says, I know I was born in New York City for a reason. Where else does the sidewalk tremble under your feet from the rumble of the subways underground and trucks and city buses up top? Where else do cabbies and garbage men, bankers and businessmen all walk with a beat? Where else can you find a grade A, top of the line characters roaming the streets spouting Shakespeare in the middle of a blizzard? And where else can you find Broadway? The first time my folks set me down in front of a Broadway stage to watch a musical, I saw walls rising into the ceilings and staircases disappearing into the floor. I knew I wanted to be a set designer and I wanted to work on Broadway. If you come to my house, there's hardly anywhere to sit in my bedroom, or to step for that matter, because the whole place is cluttered with hand-painted miniature cardboard sets I designed for imaginary plays. I'll work on real ones as soon as I get to college because I figure there'll be plenty of opportunities to sharpen my skills working on college productions, especially down at NYU, where I plan to go. If I get in. When I get in. I have to get in. I have to get back to the city. 2 months ago, my father announced that we're leaving. We're moving out. The city is getting too rough, he said. Mom's not sure she wants to go on teaching in public schools. She has decided to take a break, so this is a good time to move, he said. As for him, he'll keep his job in publishing and just commute from Yorktown Heights. I tried to pretend like the move is no big deal since Mom and Dad are so hot on it, especially Mom, who's been wanting her own house forever. But man, I'm dying. I got friends here, and I've grown up and gone to school with all my life, and I fit in here. And you can't tell me there are guys with bleach blonde buzz cuts and earrings in Yorktown. And what about theater? There's no Broadway in Yorktown. But maybe that's the point. Mom isn't too keen on my plans to work in the theater, which is no surprise. She's still trying to get over my wearing an earring, even though I bought the smallest one I could find. She freaked anyway. I don't think Dad is too stoked about my plans either, although he doesn't say it because he knows I remember him telling me how he used to want to be an entertainer. He played the drums in a band when he was my age and had big time plans of hitting the road like Ringo Starr and the Beatles and doing shows across the country. Then his family moved to Binghamton, away from his bandmates, and eventually his dream faded away. Is that why they're moving? Is that why what they're hoping happens to me? Just the thought of maybe never working in the theater makes me crazy. And one day I tell this story to my father, about my father to Raul, and I tell him I don't understand how my father's dream could just die like that, when what I really want to know is, can mine? And Raul says something that sticks with me. Maybe your father's dream wasn't really in his heart. If a dream is in your heart, you never lose it. After we had that conversation, I kicked my doubts to the back of my closet. Well, almost. I still go in there now and then. Part of me continues to be afraid of following my father's footsteps. These days, though, I try to concentrate on keeping my grades up so I can into NYU when the time comes, because one thing I know for sure is that my dream is in my heart. I've got 2 more years of school, 2 more years to hold on to my dream, and 2 more years of open mic Fridays. Well, 1 year and a couple months. This year's going by so fast. I hope I'll still have a chance to do open mic next year. They're so popular now, every kid in school wishes they were in Mr. Ward's class. I can't blame them. We got a good thing going here, and people need to know about it. We're sick of the negative press teenagers get all the time. Apparently somebody at the Bronx Insider agreed. Mr. Ward said they're sending a reporter to cover our next open mic Friday, and it should be a monster. Mr. Ward invited a real poet to come speak to us and read some of his work. It's not an assembly exactly, but Mr. Ward is having us meet together in the multipurpose room for the special presentation. Pedro Pietri is the poet's name. He's in this book called The United States of Poetry, and somebody said he's a reverend. Sterling must be stoked. Anyway, I'm looking forward to hearing him. Poetry is the coolest thing we got going in this school now. Maybe I'll still be around next year to enjoy it. Whether I finish up school here or in Yorktown Heights depends on my folks. Either way, there's a set designer's job on Broadway with my name on it, and I'm not giving it up for nobody. Doubtless by Steve Erickson. When I was 7, I looked to heaven and dreamed of going to the moon, but pretty soon somebody came along to change my tune. They put me down, bang, there my dream lay on the ground. Thank God eventually I came around and dreamed another dream. At first it seemed a good idea to hide it, confide it to absolutely no one. But that was no fun. Besides, I realized I couldn't. The joy it gave me just wouldn't be stopped. It popped up at the most inconvenient times, effervesced in all my rhymes. But hey, joy is not a crime, though some people may make it seem so. Does anybody here know what I mean? You share your dream, and right away people laugh to try to dissuade you to do what they can to plant a seed of doubt. Listen, you've got to root it out, laugh last, push past, pursue. Be you, whoever that is, dream intact, and don't look back. Don't look back, don't look back, and if you move, remember, pack your dreams. They're portable. Tyrone. Either that boy's been hanging out with some brothers or he wish he had. He must have grown up around here, the way he talks. But I hope he ain't studying on hanging out with me. We can peacefully coexist, but I don't have no white boys in my crew. He ain't half bad, though. Pedro Pietri must have thought so, too, the way he clapped when Steve was done. It was kind of cool having a published poet in the audience. First he read to us, then we read to him. He really listened to us, too, like we were equals. I bet Pietri's partly why that reporter came to our school. Not that the Insider is the Times or Daily News, but hey, it's better than nothing. At least they're interested in the good stuff going on in our neighborhood. Of course, I thought they would send in a brother, but they sent this white guy. Ain't no telling what kind of piece he'll write about our stuff. Somebody should have told him it's a long way from Shakespeare. He talked to Rev Pietri and Mr. Ward mostly, but he took notes the whole time we were reading. And this photographer snapped a bunch of pictures. He definitely got one of me. He didn't say which ones he'd be using, though. He got down everybody's name just in case, so he'd have them for the captions. Hope he spells my name right. Be just my luck. I get in the paper for something good, and they misspell my name. The paper comes out next week. See if I ain't the first one at the newsstand. Renard Patterson. Finish what you start. That's my mother's favorite saying, and she's earned a right to say it. She had me when she was a teenager, but that didn't stop her from finishing high school, and she moved more times than Steve could even dream of. Every now and then, when I consider dropping out, I take a good long look at my mother and think again. This year certainly gave me plenty of opportunities to practice. Homework was a nightmare. Essay questions in history and English. What are they trying to do? Kill me? All those words swirling around in the page gave me a headache. I'm still trying to get rid of. If only they could give homework a beat and put it on a CD, now that would work for me. Then they'd be speaking my language, chords, melodies, homework in the key of G. Oh yeah. Music has always come easier to me than words. My mother says I used to beat out rhythms on my high chair with a spoon. I don't know if that story's true, but she's told it so often everyone believes it. The one thing I know for certain is that I eat, sleep, and dream music. Man, when I see myself in the future, it's on a bandstand, fingering my alto. I may not be much of a talker, but hey, give me a sax and I'll talk all night long. My cousin Sterling says one day the whole world will hear what I have to say. Last week, my English class was the world. It was open mic Friday, and I'd shown up with my saxophone case in one hand and a folded up poem in the other. Not that I needed a copy of the poem. Besides the other kids, I knew we'd have a living, published poet in the audience. So I spent a week memorizing and rehearsing my poem in front of the mirror, if you can believe that. Even so, I still thought about maybe skipping the poem and just playing a piece on my sax. But there'd be too much skipping this year for me already. I'd skip participating in every other open mic Friday, and Mr. Ward had skipped over me in class whenever it was time to read out loud. Which is why everybody thought I was 3 degrees below a moron. Not that I blame them. Even I used to think I was an idiot. Of course, now I know better. So does my English teacher. Mr. Ward and I had discussed my problem back in September. He'd agreed to keep my secret, although he thought I should share it with the class. As for me, I didn't think they'd understand, and I didn't want anybody treating me as if I was diseased or mentally ill. It seemed easier to let them think I was stupid, so long as I knew I wasn't. But after last Friday, I realized Mr. Ward was right. It's only been a week, and already I feel lighter. That's not the way I felt when he called my name, though. Okay, Renard, he said, you're on. All my second thoughts rushed forward, causing a traffic jam in my mind. But Gloria caught my eye. Go on, she whispered. Do it, cuz, said Sterling. Yes, said Wesley. Show us what you got. I nodded, thanks, and took a deep breath. I shoved the poem in my pocket, grabbed my sacks, and went to the front of the room. Dyslexia by Renard Patterson. Onion skin, acid-free linen, 80% recycled fiber. The paper content doesn't much matter. My eyes see letters dancing backwards across whatever page they're printed on. The why is the mystery to me. Could it be that I'm 1 gigabyte short? Or maybe I was born feet first? When the doctor smacked my bottom, did I laugh instead of cry? Do my thoughts trade places like letters on the sly? Such questions are enough to make you crazy if you're not. Dyslexia is a minor disturbance, nothing major once you learn your way around it, says the doc, as if he's a radio jock announcing a fender bender. Steer clear of the wreck ahead. Try the Triborough for smoother traffic the next time you take your mind for a spin. Neurological distinction notwithstanding, something in me whispers freak every time I wriggle out of reading aloud or have to ask a stranger, excuse me, but what does that sign say? Read me any way you choose, only please stop asking, what's his problem? Tyrone. The world ain't but one big surprise after another. Just look at Renard, or look at Steve. That white boy got more up his sleeve than anyone could guess. I ain't lying. Yesterday, me, Wesley, and Sterling got up to do a cipher for Open Mic Friday, and here comes Steve jumping up to join us. I laughed out loud. Didn't even try to hide it. I ain't never seen a white boy do no freestyle poem. You know how hard it is? One person starts a poem, then the next guy has to step into the rhythm, pick up the poem where the first guy left off, and keep it going. Then after a while, the third guy comes in, if there is the third guy, and he takes over, and then the fourth guy, and so on. You go around and round and round like that, long as you can keep it tight, or until somebody finishes off the poem, or you get tired, whatever. Me and Wesley usually team up, going back and forth with Sterling on guitar, laying down the beat. Sometimes we let Chankara jump in. She ain't half bad either, but then she's a sister. What do you expect? But Steve, please. So of course I laughed. Boy, I said, sit your white butt back down before you hurt yourself. Give the guy some slack, said Sterling. See why we call him preacher? Yeah, brother, said Steve. You hear this, white boy, I said. I'm thinking he must like to take his life in his hands. Wesley studied Steve a minute. The question is, do you flow? I figured that would be the end of it, because I was sure Steve wouldn't even know what the brother was talking about. How could he? Yes, said Steve, I flow. Guys, said Mr. Ward, today. I shook my head. Yeah, okay, teach. I cut my eyes at Steve, betting this boy had never done a cipher in his life. Just try to keep up, I told him. Y'all ready? Preacher set up the beat, and we took off. And guess what? That white boy can flow. Makes you kind of wonder about his family tree now, don't it? What else can that boy do that I don't know about?